Welcome back to Life Beyond Land on the sailing vessel Endless Summer.
Yeah, we are still in Colombia, in Santa Marta, waiting for the wind to change direction so we can get to Panama. We've been taking care of some minor boat projects and doing a lot of shopping, stocking up on lower price goods that are here in Colombia for our trip to South Pacific next year. And also getting new prescription glasses. And we had a dentist visit as well.
While we sit here waiting for the wind to change, we decided to make a recap video of all our adventures through the Caribbean, through the Bahamas, to see what we liked, what we didn't like.
And what was a surprise, as well as looking back on how prepared we were. We bought Endless Summer in September of 2023 in Maryland and readied it for a journey to North Carolina in late October 2023. In late November 2023, we got rid of most of our possessions, except our cats, and moved on to the boat.
While in North Carolina, we prepared the boat to be able to spend weeks at a time on anchor and to do some offshore sailing. So we added solar panels, some additional electronics, a better anchor, and we headed south in January and did mostly short hops down the East Coast all the way to Dry Tortugas. If you haven't been there by boat, you should. That was one of our favorite U.S. stops. Then in early May, we turned around and headed all the way back up north.
In late August, I quit my job and we made it up to Canada and spent a month cruising Nova Scotia and the Madeleine Islands, also one of our favorite stops. In late September, it started getting cold, so we turned around and started heading south along the U.S. East Coast at a leisurely pace, enjoying stops in Maine, Boston, Newport, Rhode Island, Martha's Vineyard, New Jersey, Maryland, Virginia, and then back in North Carolina. We stopped for about a month in North Carolina to prepare the boat for a season of cruising in the Caribbean. Knowing that we could be far away from spare parts and cat food, we stocked up on spare parts as well as other supplies for the boat: food, personal items, a water maker, and a new sail.
We headed toward Florida in early December, arriving around December 18th. We had to wait there for a weather window so we can cross the Gulf Stream over to the Bahamas. We finally got that weather window around December 30th, and we made it to Great Harbor Key in the Berry Islands. And so our Caribbean journey began. We spent until mid-March cruising the islands of the Bahamas, visiting Eleuthera, the Exumas, Long Island, Cat Island, Andros Island, and Great Inagua Islands before we jumped over to the Dominican Republic.
At the end of March, we got a weather window for the ages that allowed a very calm motor sail across the Mona Passage to Puerto Rico, where we arrived at Boquerón on the west coast, then hopped to windward all along the south coast up to Fajardo, with a stop in Vieques, one of the Spanish Virgin Islands. We again had a Walmart, Amazon, and West Marine shopping spree in Puerto Rico before leaving for the U.S. Virgin Islands of St. Thomas and St. John.
We were again gifted a calm weather window in late April for a jump across the Anegada Passage to St. Martin and anchored on the French side in the town of Marigot.
After only a few days, we headed to Ceiba, only about 30 miles away, where we also only stayed a few days due to weather. Then another very short sail on to St. Eustatius.
Statia, it's called. We also only stayed a few days because we needed to get to Grenada for a planned flight back to the U.S. So we next stopped at Portsmouth and Dominica, then Martinique, where we visited St. Pierre and St. Anne, and then on to St. George's in Grenada.
That's a lot of saints.
We left Grenada in mid-June and started a journey west to the ABC Islands, Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao.
We left Aruba in late August to sail to Santa Marta, Colombia, where we are sitting today. Okay, so after about 8 months in the Eastern Caribbean, what were our favorite places to go? What were our favorite islands?
Well, I'd say the first one was definitely Bonaire.
Yes. Bonaire was beautiful. And I loved being able to jump in crystal clear water and snorkel right off the back of our boat.
It was great. And, you could take the dinghy. It was a 1-minute dinghy ride to town. Everything was super close. Short walks to the grocery store, short walk to the budget marine in case we needed anything for boat repairs. Everything was super convenient.
Yeah. And that's important as a cruiser to have access to a good dinghy dock where you can securely leave your dinghy, as well as access to the necessities: grocery store, hardware store, marine store,
Beer,
and laundry. Beer.
rum,
And there were also plenty of bars and restaurants right there.
right there.
We also broke out our bikes in Bonaire, and the cycling there was surprisingly pretty good for a small island. We had a couple different options. We had some coastal routes that were very scenic with pink flamingos. There was a lake that we could ride around. And on the interior, there were actually mountain bike trails. So we had planned to stay maybe 5 days or a week. We ended up staying almost 3 weeks because we loved it so much. The downside was it was pretty expensive. There was a kind of a tourist fee getting in. I think it was around $135 per person. And then we had to pay $35 a night for the mooring ball. We were not allowed to anchor.
Yep. But
I think it was still worth it.
It really was. You every night you're like, well, it is a little expensive, but then you go, take a snorkel off the back of the boat, and you're like, I don't want to go anywhere.
I think it's the only place we've been where I was in the water 2 to 3 times a day. So what were some of the other top islands on your list?
Well, Saba, because it's a unique place. It's literally a mountain that comes out of the middle of the eastern Caribbean that doesn't have a beach. It has a harbor and a little staircase that's next to a rock that you can land your dinghy at, which was the only access to the island. But it was, once you get on the island, it is steep to get up to the top. We did a fantastic hike there.
There was some fantastic snorkeling there too, with the clear water.
Yeah, very clear water.
Pretty good snorkeling.
But again, it's a good stop.
But it was so remote.
But you can't provision there. There's a couple bars. It's pretty much just a stop through.
Yep.
The other place I really liked was Martinique.
Ah, yes.
Okay.
That was a good island I would say it was a very cruiser-friendly island.
It was. Martinique is definitely a stop on everybody's tour. It has wonderful little cities. It has great history. It has French food, which is awesome.
Yeah, and what makes certain islands more cruiser-friendly is really just access to a good dinghy dock and necessities. Each town that we stopped at had a good dinghy dock that you could lock your dinghy to, and it wasn't a hazard to climb on like the ones in the Bahamas. And a grocery store usually within a block, a bakery within a block. The water wasn't very clear, so the swimming and snorkeling there wasn't great, but there were some beaches a little bit farther to, I think, the south from where we were that we just didn't have a chance to explore. We did get to ride our bikes there, which was actually a lot of fun. Kind of hard, if I remember, but yeah. It was pretty hilly.
Yeah.
But it was some pretty biking, so that was a nice bonus for us.
The other island I really liked was St. John's.
Ooh.
Okay. St. John's, we were in Lameshire Bay, which is part of the whole island. It's a national park. And there was not only some crystal clear water that, again, you can snorkel off the back of the boat. We had a turtle that used to come every night to come visit with us, which was pretty cool. But then when we took the dinghy to shore, there were some spectacular hikes where you can tour the old plantations, the old sugar plantations that were there, as well as do some pretty serious climbing and get in some good exercise.
Yeah, that was another place that I would have loved to have spent more time at and explored some of the other bays. I think we were only there for maybe 2 or 3 nights.
Mm-hmm.
So why didn't we spend more time in some of these islands that we liked?
Well, I think we wasted too much time in the Bahamas.
We spent almost 3 months in the Bahamas, and it really wasn't that interesting.
And don't get us wrong, the Bahamas is great. People spend their entire cruising season going to the different Bahama islands, and it's nice. But from our experience, I think you can make much better memories going to different islands and have a much better experience going to different islands in the Caribbean.
Yeah, I think probably a month in the Bahamas would have been adequate. We kept going to different islands, kind of searching for the reason why people spend so much time there. And other than the exumas were really beautiful and amazing. Snorkeling, lots of cruising activity going on there. It's kind of the cruising hub, but also extremely crowded. All the anchorages were packed. It was hard to get your boat into a dinghy dock. It was hard to find food.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably one of the worst things about the Bahamas, is just trying to find any fresh food. We never really saw that beautiful crystal clear aquamarine water anywhere else. I don't remember.
Yeah,
and the beaches
where you
too.
have that white sand beach with
Yeah.
that blue water and that whole Bahamas thing. You know, I guess Klein Curacao, we saw it a
Klein
little bit.
Curacao was probably the closest, and probably Aruba. The
Right.
beach in Aruba was probably the closest thing we saw. Bonaire doesn't really have any beaches, so they have that one beach, Klein Bonaire.
But it doesn't matter because you just dive off the back of your boat.
Yeah. It's not like I want sand in my swimsuit anyway. So
Yeah. One of the other places that we absolutely loved after spending 3 months in the Bahamas is Dominican Republic, because it was a complete change of scenery. You got to feel a lot more with the local culture. It felt a lot of Latin influence when you went into town, both from the music, and they had some museums and forts.
yeah, I think it was a shock coming from the Bahamas to the Dominican Republic with just so much going on, the hustle, being able to actually get things and have people come and provide services was kind of just a shock to our systems, as well as the traffic.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But it was a lot easier. They literally, the local city, Puerto Plata, had a produce market, like you have in most cities, where you go and they have stalls and everybody has produce and you can pick what you want and everything's fresh.
Yeah, we were so excited to
Yeah.
see just the carts and carts of fresh fruits and vegetables. Yeah. We were like, why don't they send a boat every week to the Bahamas?
Just
It's only 100 miles away.
Which is crazy.
And it was nice to be able to drop your laundry off and have it all done for half the cost of doing it yourself in the Bahamas. You did get to surf in Dominican Republic.
I did. I caught a day of surf, which we had an adventure in one of our other videos.
Unfortunately, cut short by my accident. But
yeah. But again, Dominican Republic, we absolutely loved. And if we had the ability to go back, we definitely would.
Yeah, well, it was such a nice change of scenery too with the waterfalls,
Yeah.
the mountains and waterfalls. So it's just a kind of such a surprise when you pull away from the flat Bahamas and then come up to Dominican Republic and you just see these mountains. And another island that was very beautiful but ended up leaving a bit of a sour taste in our mouths was Dominica. We were only there for a few days. We took a tour, and they told us one price before the tour, and then afterwards the price they told us that was in local currency, they said, oh no, that's in US dollars. The tour ended up being something like $300 US a day, which was just ridiculous for a 6-hour per day tour. Also, laundry was, I think, $80 for 2 loads of laundry. It was more ridiculously priced than the Bahamas, quite honestly. and it just felt like complete price gouging.
Yeah, Dominica was the island where they're like, screw the tourists. Yeah, we're just going to make a buck. You never got a feeling that, the warm, welcoming island vibe that you get in other islands in the Caribbean. And
Yeah.
again, they got to make a living, but we also have a choice of where, and you have a choice of where you can go with your vacation dollars.
Yeah, I would skip it.
I would skip Dominica.
Not worth it. The water wasn't nice. There weren't any nice beaches. The interior is pretty, but
you could do the same things elsewhere. The chocolate plantations we saw much better in Colombia, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, the chocolate and coffee plantation in Colombia and Santa Marta was far better than anything that you'll find, in the Eastern Caribbean. So,
okay, so now on to some of the surprises of cruising in the Eastern Caribbean. What was your number one surprise?
I'm surprised that I only caught one fish.
It was delicious, though.
It was delicious.
It was a mahi-mahi.
Mahi-mahi. But I did donate 7 lures to the Caribbean, so hopefully some fish are out there eating my lures.
I was probably the most surprised about how expensive it was to do laundry in pretty much everywhere except the Dominican Republic.
Mm-hmm.
I can see why a lot of sailors are looking into adding a washing machine to their boat, or have added a washing machine to their boat if they've already been kind of in the Eastern Caribbean for a season. They're probably my other biggest surprise, clearing into countries with 2 cats. The Bahamas looked at our paperwork, and I spent a lot of time and money getting the proper health certificates, taking the cats to the vets, etc. And jumping through all the hoops, following all the rules. There was only one country that even looked at our cat paperwork, and that was the Bahamas. And they are also the only country that came onto our boat. Twice, actually.
Yep.
But nobody else seemed to care.
Everywhere else, yeah, they were like.
In fact, in Colombia, they even asked me, "Did the cats leave the boat?" And I'm like, "No." They're like, "All right."
So one of the things that we thought was a big surprise is how easy cruising was through the ABC Islands. I thought it would be a little bit more expensive. Yeah, I thought that it would be harder because they're just 3 little islands off the coast of Venezuela, but everything in the ABCs, especially Curacao. Curacao is kind of the cruising community that Georgetown wishes it was. Okay. Easy anchorage, plenty of room. Everybody gets organized on the WhatsApp group. They have an organized bus that takes you to the supermarket twice a week, takes you to town. It's easy to get rental cars. It's easy to, and it's an active community. So there was also beach barbecues and happy hours and places that you can take windsurfing lessons, all within the same anchorage of Spanish waters.
And surprisingly, the best running in the entire Eastern Caribbean, in my opinion. We had quite a few routes to choose from. And I think one of the biggest disappointment surprises for me was the lack of swimming. So we were both triathletes. I thought swimming would probably be one of our main forms of exercise while we were cruising, but shockingly few places that we went that we could actually safely swim. Either it was strong currents, sharks in the Bahamas. Other harbors we were in, there was just too much boat traffic to safely swim.
Dirty water.
Or the water was murky, yeah.
Yeah, we found some fun places to swim, don't get us wrong. But
they were few and far between.
They really were. They really were.
Yep. And the biggest surprise of all, we thought we would spend another season in the Eastern Caribbean, and we've decided, no thanks.
Yep.
We'll move on to the South Pacific.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to our next adventures up to Panama and through the canal. So, honey, how did you think we did on our preparations for our first 7 months of cruising here?
I give ourselves an A. I think we did our research and stocked up on the spare parts and tools and supplies we needed. We didn't have that much fail either, luckily. But that water pump failed,
Right,
remember, when we were crossing over
right,
to the Exumas. And so we had a spare water pump, so we
right.
replaced it.
One of my rules, it'll be below here. Have the spare you need.
We also stocked up a lot on food, especially cat food, which I'm glad we did because we did not find the brands of cat food that our cats like anywhere else. We still haven't found it. We're getting worried now. Um, Hopefully, we'll find something in Panama. And then we stocked up on staples and frozen foods, especially. I think stocking up on the frozen foods in the US before coming to the Bahamas was key because it was just so hard to find fresh fruits, vegetables, and meats.
The other things that was great was the acquisition of the water maker,
Mm-hmm.
which made life a lot easier for us. In between the stays at the marinas, which didn't happen too often when we were in the Caribbean, we were able to generate quite a bit of water, and that kept us going. And the fact that we had a genset, a generator, which
Mm-hmm.
allowed us to make power and charge the batteries when we didn't have the sun from the solar panels.
I think
Uh,
I probably overstocked on baking items like different types of flours, even chocolate chips. I really didn't bake that much. And then I think toilet paper, paper towels, all of those things, baking items, especially not so much chocolate chips, but um, staples were easy to find, even in the Bahamas. If if we're talking rice, toilet paper, flour, yeast, that stuff's all pretty easy to find. So I probably didn't really need to stock up on those things as much as I did. I felt like we did a good job researching what we needed to know to as far as weather routing and what we needed to know as far as course planning.
I wanted I want to say that that's the one thing that, uh, and I'm going to say you did exceptionally well.
That was a combination of using the Windy app, the Predict Wind app, and the Chris Parker subscription service. So, and also what really helped in planning our course was the Bruce Van Sant book on Passages South. That is just critical to have if you haven't
It's a
heard of
must
it.
buy for anybody that's doing any sort of cruising.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Explorer. I also had the Explorer chart books for the Bahamas and some cruising guides. They were helpful as well, mostly for knowing what islands might have a clinic. When we had the problem with your sea urchin sting, we we knew where to go find where the closest place was to find a clinic. Also, with knowing where to fill propane tanks, things like that.
Yep. And I guess the final thing would be that I'm glad that we had the uh, smaller jib made before we
Ah,
left. Yes.
yes.
So big thanks to Omar Sales, and
Yeah, I wasn't so sure we really needed it, but it actually
we
made the
really.
sailing a lot easier. And that's a wrap on this episode about our recap of the Eastern Caribbean. Hopefully, next episode we'll be sailing to Panama.